Hey friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Pearblossom press video. Today we're going to be using the brand new candlelight. I'm so excited to show you this. I got to play with it back in April or March, and I'm just so excited that I have it in my hands now and I can show you how it works if you haven't seen it already. So we've brought in the candlelight. We're using this Vicki Boutin paper called Storyteller. I love it. We're also bringing this Trinity stamp set called Hey Cupcake, and it also has these matching dies to go along with it. And I love that there are dies for even all the words, and yeah, you can make a shaker out of it. This is a very fun set, nice big stamps, and I love the font. So let's go ahead and get started. I've picked out several patterns from that patterned paper, and we're going to go ahead and stamp all the images that I want onto the patterned paper. This is just a super fun way to take your stamps to another level. If you're like wanting to add some texture or some sort of whatever to your stamped images, this is a great way to do it. So I'm going to stamp all of my images using the different patterned papers, and then we are going to bring in our Olo markers over the top of those. I do want my cupcake to be vanilla, so I have some of this yellow patterned paper, and we're just going to stamp that upper portion. There's not a die for this part, so I'm going to have to hand cut that, which is super easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of effort at all because you do need some at the top and the bottom to be able to glue to your cupcake. And then we'll do our icing as this fun peachy color. So we're stamping everything a couple different times using that Blackout ink because, as I said, I do want to use my Olo markers. We're not going to go crazy with the Olo markers. They're just going to add a little bit of dimension and depth to those images. We'll stamp out our candle onto some white cardstock, just using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. This is a nice crisp black pigment ink. And I just wanted it to be nice and crisp because we are going to be just doing some double stamping, or what do they call it? Two-step stamping, sorry. Two-step stamping because I like that the set has a solid image for the candle itself and also a solid image for the flame. So I've brought in some Midnight Snack from Simon Hurley Create. Then we have some Over the Moon, and then our candle is ready. So as I said, bringing in some Olo markers. I've got this darker one, and this is fun because you're not having to color that whole big image. You're just adding some depth to some areas where you think that shadowing and shading might be. And it doesn't look like a whole lot right now, but when I bring in that lighter color to blend this out, it's going to really, I think, take it to that next level. So we'll bring in the lighter. It's OR 2.2 and just use our feathering motion. And then that is going to really soften those edges and then make this look even more realistic. Super fun, right? All right, we'll do the same thing with the cupcake portion. Like I said, I like vanilla. I wanted a vanilla cupcake. Vanilla is my favorite. I love chocolate too, but as far as cakes go, I'm vanilla all the way. And then we're going to do this with our cupcake wrapper. I'm using these blue-green 2.7, and I'm going to go all the way around the top and the bottom, and then we will blend out using that 2.4. I'm not going to show you all of that because it's basically the same, but yeah, we're just going to do that all around the cupcake wrapper. Then we'll bring in our matching dies for all of those pieces, tack that down with a little bit of mint tape, and run that through our die cutting machine. And I feel like if you got the cupcake, you kind of need the die. You don't need the die. You need the die. I feel like you need the die, the die set, because there's so much more to it, I think. And the fact that it will die cut out the sentiments too just makes my heart happy. So here we are just cutting out the cupcake portion itself. Like I said, leave some on the top and bottom because you do want to be able to adhere that to your frosting and your liner. We're going to set that off to the side, and because this is such a big image, we're going to make a 5x7 card. So I've got a piece of cardstock that measures 7 inches by 10 inches, scored at 5, so when I close it up, it is a 5x7. Then we're going to bring in some more of that patterned paper. I'm just going to cut this piece down. It's going to make my work a little harder, but it's fine. I cut it down to be about a 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit more. And then this patterned paper is going to be our main panel. I'm cutting that down to be 7 inches, of course, and then that's going to be slightly less than 4 3/4. And then I'm going to use my grid on my mat underneath, and we're going to just make sure that that ends up being 5 inches. So I'll put a little bit of glue on the one end, and then like I said, we'll use our grid, And we want this to end up being 5 inches all the way across that bottom. We already know it's going to be 7, going up and down, but the horizontal portion we want to be 5 inches. So I'm using my grid mat underneath just to make sure. So that way when I stick this panel on top of the card base, it's going to completely cover the card base. And then we have that nice little blue section on the side. It ties everything in nicely. We're going to glue our cupcake together. So I'll just take our wrapper and glue it down to the bottom of the cupcake. And then we'll add a little bit of glue to the top of it, and we'll add our icing, just letting some of that cupcake show. So the cupcake's ready, and then we can think about where we're going to attach our candle. But here we are. Here's the candlelight. That's how it comes. You get a 2-pack, put it in, you press the button, and then you blow it out. Yeah, right? It's incredible. Press the button, blow it out. How crazy is that? Now, you don't have to blow it out every time. If you let it sit for long enough, it will turn off on its own, so don't worry about that. But isn't that great? All right, so we'll assemble here in a second. I did want to show you this portion. I'm going to stamp out the Make-A-Wish. I know I'm doing it right on that paper, but the reason I'm doing that is because that cupcake is going to cover so much of it, and I didn't want to waste any of that background, but I did want this stamped on that patterned paper. So we're going to stamp that out using that VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. We'll stamp it a couple times to make sure that it is nice and crisp. Yeah. And then I'm going to bring in that matching die, and we're going to die cut it right out of the panel that we just did. I know that seems like crazy, maybe a little counterproductive, but it's going to get covered by the cupcake. So unless you watch this video, you're not going to know that's back there. You're not going to know there's a hole back there. Okay, so we'll tack that down with our mint tape and run that through our die cutting machine. And then we've got our Make-A-Wish sentiment that we can set off to the side, and we can finish that up later. So there's our hole, but check it out. Our cupcake covers it. No big deal, right? All right, so now that we've got that going, let's attach down our candle. And then we can attach down our cupcake to the panel. Just avoiding where that hole's probably going to be. I think I still get some of that glue in there, but that's okay. We can wipe it away. I just love how big this cupcake is. It's fabulous. All right. So now we can start poking holes where the light's going to come through. And obviously I want it to be where the flame is. So you poke that hole, and you don't want to stop there. You want to take your paper piercer, and you really want to wind that around to make sure that hole is nice and big. And I'll tell you why. The reason you need that to be nice and big is because there is the mechanism that is right next to the light that you have to blow on. And if the hole's not big enough, you're not going to hit that mechanism. I'm going to show you one of the cutest cats in the world. Here's Max. Little Maxie Poo Poo wanted to come in and do a little quality control. All right, but this is what I'm talking about. Look at that little mechanism right there, right underneath the light. That is where you need to make sure that your breath is going to hit, or the recipient's breath is going to hit, because that's what's going to turn the light off. So you want to make sure that hole is nice and big, okay? Now I'm playing around with that, kind of marking where the press is going to be, because the button's down at the bottom, so I just use my pencil to mark it, and as long as I stamp that right above where I marked it, I should be good to go. So this stamp set has press here. It's also got a lot of other great little sentiments. It was made to be a light up card. Like, I mean, obviously you don't have to do light ups, but if you do like doing light ups, this is a great set for you for sure. And then I'm going to stamp this other sentiment on the side. Oh, it was made for the candlelight. It says, blow out your candle. Yes, really. How fabulous is that? And then we're just going to use a piece of white paper to stamp the word Hey Cupcake, and then we'll use the matching die to die cut that out. Now where I did do the press here, I end up restamping that and die cutting it out with that same patterned paper that we're using here with the Make-A-Wish. Not the blue, but the white underneath. And there is, as you can see, there is a die that cuts out the word wish. And so I did that with that blue to kind of tie all those things together. And then we're just adhering that down over the word. Ties it all. Love it. Kind of makes it stand out a little bit too. And then we can go ahead and glue that down onto the cupcake wrapper. You could use foam tape, but remember you're going to use foam tape underneath all this, so that would make it really, really thick. And I don't know if you want to do that. So I'm just going to glue it down to the front. So hey, Cupcake, make a wish. All right, so we've got our base And so I'm going to stamp something on the inside. I do end up adding a couple little pieces of pattern paper on the inside as well. Ties everything in. But wishing you the happiest birthday ever. I think this card's going to go for my husband. It's his birthday this weekend, so perfect. I'm using a little bit of mint tape to kind of hold that in place so that I know where that's going to be. So it's just going to temporarily hold that onto that panel, and I'm going to use some rip and stick tape. We'll peel off that release paper, and then when I stick this down on top of the card, that is going to be exactly where I need it to be. I was trying to line up the press here with where the light goes as well. So everything is all lined up, and then I can pull this away, and then I can just take that mint tape and use it for something else. All right, here is where I decided to stamp the press here because I wanted to make sure that stood out a little bit more out of some more of that pattern paper that I had left. Die cut that out, use a little bit of liquid glue, and we can adhere that down over what we stamped. Yeah. And then this is where we're going to need to start using some of the world's best foam tape. And it is titled that because it really is. I know if you've watched me make cards before, I have said that. This stuff is fabulous for so many reasons. One, you can reposition it. You've got like 30 minutes to reposition. Two, the peel off is so easy. I have ruined so many manicures on other like foam tapes that just rip your fingernail polish right off, but this stuff doesn't do that because the release paper is so easy. So I'll just stick that down. Everything works well, so you just want to keep testing. And then I do decide to bring in some embellishments. These are the Sparkling Sapphire. These are from Trinity Stamps as well. I'm using that pickup stick and some liquid glue to adhere these down. I'm being very liberal with them. But this is our card. I really love how this turned out. I'm so excited to give this to my husband because he does know how these work. And so I know he's going to love it too. If you like this video, hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.